This is a turbo roundabout, a relatively new iteration that helps to keep cars moving at intersections. And it's just one of the things I got to see with Bicycle Dutch on day 4 of my bike trip across the Netherlands. And if you're here for the turbo roundabout, you can skip ahead, but I really recommend coming along for the whole ride because we've got a lot of stuff to check out along the way. Today, I start in Den Bosch with the final destination of Eindhoven, over 40 kilometers away. But before I leave, there is still so much to see in the capital of North Brabant. And I can't think of a better way to see the city than taking a tour with Mark Wagenburg, also known as Bicycle Dutch. Growing up in the Netherlands, he lived through the Stop de Kindermoord movement and has witnessed firsthand the country's transformation over the past 50 years. What began as a few video responses to critics of Dutch bike lanes turned into a 15-year journey documenting cycling infrastructure around the Netherlands in hopes of inspiring safer and more livable cities across the globe. We met up at the train station, and the first thing I got was an answer to a question I had been wondering.
Mark, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Den Bosch.
Thank you.
s-Hertogenbosch, the full name.
I've been wondering how to pronounce that.
s-Hertogenbosch.
s-Hertogenbosch.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, close enough. All right.
That's it. We took off straight to the city center, passing by a very important statue.
That golden dragon has a nickname locally. The monument for all mothers-in-laws. That's universal joke, right? That bridge is where the old city moat was, and that was the historic and medieval city. You can still see the city wall here, because the city wall is also the water defense here. So yeah, this was the city wall with the ramparts and everything. And so now we're entering the old city center.
Founded in 1185 by Duke Hendrik I, Den Bosch began as a fortified settlement on forested dunes surrounded by marshlands. Its strategic location made it a natural stronghold, eventually expanding with canals and walls to match its growing population. And until the 1520s, Den Bosch was one of the most important cities in what is now the Netherlands, second in population only to Utrecht. It was a vibrant hub of trade, culture, and wool production, and the birthplace of visionary painter Hieronymus Bosch. Now, that leading role was later taken over by cities in the Holland region like Amsterdam, Leiden, and Haarlem as the economic and political power shifted northward. But still, the city played a pivotal role in the 80 Years' War, the French Revolutionary War, and more recently was occupied by the Nazis during the Second World War. But today, Den Bosch blends medieval charm with modern energy. Landmarks like the St. John's Cathedral and the old city walls sit along vibrant cultural spaces and bold new architecture. It's a city that remembers where it came from and keeps moving forward.
We're now entering the old tiny city streets, and it's quite busy now. A bit chaotic here always.
We cautiously continued through the bustling center and began north, quickly coming to a first in Dutch cycling history.
This is the first bi-directional cycle path around a roundabout. That was the first in the country, this one. Yeah, and everybody said, you can't do it because the cars will look the wrong way, which does happen, but actually it's much safer than people think. The polar bear in the middle is guerrilla art that was there just one morning, but the city liked it so much that they bought it from the artist and now it's permanent.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, very Dutch thing to do.
We continued north along a bike path that perfectly showcased the effortless flow of cycling in the Netherlands.
We have the right of way for 5 kilometers. And before, all these intersections were traffic light controlled, and one after the other was converted to a roundabout. And then suddenly, hey, wait a moment, now it's 5 kilometers long right of way. Nobody really planned it that way, I think. It was just a happy accident, to talk like Bob Ross.
You sort of caught me fiddling around here a little bit.
This country is known for its iconic red cycle paths, but that's not always what you'll find.
Most cycle paths in the Netherlands are red, but where it's not needed, where everybody understands what's what, we sometimes cut cost, because it is more expensive. Yeah, you cannot mistake this for anything else but a cycle path.
You will occasionally spot red paint at intersections, just enough to signal to drivers to keep out. Here, we reach the northern edge of the city, riding along the Meuse River just as the looming clouds release the first of their payload.
And you know the corny saying, you're not made of sugar, which is true, we'll dry.
There is also another saying, there is no bad weather, just wrong clothing. We certainly weren't dressed for it, but it was just a light drizzle. We thought it would be fine, so we pressed on westward, eventually reaching a portion of the F2 cycling highway that offers a direct route right back to the heart of the city. I previously mentioned that one of my favorite features of the Dutch traffic system are the detection loops that inform junction lights for better flow. But Mark shared something with me that ups the ante quite a bit.
We have an app, and the app knows you're coming 100 meters in advance instead of 25 meters in advance. And since every traffic light installation is fully actuated, so they look exactly which vehicle is coming, which person is pressing the I want to cross button, and you get 4 seconds of green per vehicle or per person. 4 seconds only. That means it's very flexible. So if it knows you're coming from 100 meters ahead, there's almost always space in the cycle to put you in, to give you the 4 seconds to cross. And that's so incredible. Yeah. And it feels like they're all changing for you, which they essentially do. Yeah.
After our ride, I tried to install this app, but I was sadly denied. We went all the way through Den Bosch and started south towards the town of Vught, enjoying the paths along the rain-soaked plains before getting passed by some lads who were out for a joyride. And the reason we came all this way to the city was this roundabout. It's actually a turbo roundabout, a relatively new iteration of the classic traffic junction.
A normal roundabout would need equal traffic from all arms. Right. Otherwise it doesn't function so well. This does not have equal traffic from all arms because that is towards the motorway, towards the city, so that stream and that stream is dominant. So they made a turbo roundabout. That means you can't switch lanes on the roundabout.
Okay.
So the traffic throughput is higher that way. See, there are ridges in between. They have to choose their lane before they get to the roundabout, and then they can't switch. And that makes the throughput faster and higher. And you can see that it goes smoothly, not too fast, but very steadily. And you can see that the center is not a circle. If you keep following, you'll be exiting. So you might cross when you enter, but not while you're on.
I came across a bunch of these last summer driving around the rural parts of Zeeland and South Holland, and all I can say is that these are so much better than a 2- or 4-way stop junction you typically see in North America.
And you don't want to mix that with crossings for cycling.
Right.
That's why we are on a viaduct now. So when they made this a turbo roundabout, they made these overpasses for cycling.
We had to work a bit harder getting over the humps, but the separation is appreciated and you just gotta respect the flow. But from there, we went back to Den Bosch along the southern edge of the city center, which, as you can see, is also the southern edge of town. In following those old walls, we came across one thing that the Dutch do quite well: hiding car parking.
This was the original city moat. And up until 10 years ago, this was a parking lot. The parking lot is still there, but now it's under the water. Much bigger than it used to be. So they opened the old city wall so people can walk into the underwater parking garage. So we don't only park bicycles on the water like in Amsterdam, but here is the cars. You know what a car park looks like.
It smells like a car park.
This is actually the second one we came by. The first was west of the train station in the former industrial area. But here they had a modern city map where Mark outlined our journey so far.
We are here. And this is a car parking garage.
We went back into the city, coming across a rare sight in the Netherlands, near-side pedestrian lights, and this suspiciously quiet road.
The old road used to be there. Well, it's no longer used because it was very expensive to take all the asphalt out because this road has been closed for 20 years at least now.
There was something really weird about this street. I stepped on it and was instinctively looking both ways. My brain was like, yeah, it's a street, watch out for cars. But here, there are no cars. At least, not anymore.
And here is the playground. There's also a roller skating track now that they just put on the old asphalt. And there's some climbing things and a seesaw and swings. And these houses must have gone up in value so much when this road was closed.
The solution to traffic problems isn't more roads. It can often be fewer roads, especially when it includes options like a park and ride, offering a great deal.
This is a transferium. So there's a big parking lot here on the edge, sort of edge of town. And there's a bus service to the city center. That's included in the fee. Here you can park for about €5 for all day, and then 4 people can use the bus. That's all included.
Wow.
Or you can take a bike, that's for free. Go somewhere where you want to be instead of where the bus drops you. But they go every 10 minutes, so it's really so convenient. This is one of the other transferiums, 6-story car parking. So we saw the underwater one, we saw the one on the surface, and this is the most modern one, very green. It's also full of B hotels, as we call them. P&R, park and ride the bus, or ride the bicycle.
This is a great method to invite folks from out of town who need to or even just want to drive in without decimating your city with parking lots. Now at this point we were already quite wet, but the heavens turned it up just to be sure.
Now we're really going back now. The rain is now.
It's pissing.
It's getting too
Before we finish, I had to ask Mark why the Dutch generally don't wear helmets, because I get so many comments either online or in person about not wearing one.
It is focusing on the wrong thing. Cycling is not inherently unsafe. It's only unsafe when a car drives into you and a helmet does zilch. Because we go so slowly and we're also upright. We have a good vision because we're sitting upright. On Dutch cycling works in our advantage. That it is no more dangerous than walking. Nobody would force people who walk, especially down the stairs, to wear a helmet, where that would make more sense even, because more people die falling down the stairs than on a bike incident, unless they are caught by a car, and then the helmet doesn't make any difference anyway. So no, if you're on a racing bike it's a totally different story.
Right.
But no, I'm very much against helmets.
The debate around helmet use is pretty murky, with studies often pointing in different directions. Now, they are becoming more common in the Netherlands, especially among older e-bike riders who are more vulnerable in a crash. Personally, I wear a helmet when I'm commuting to work because I like to go fast, but if I'm out for a relaxed ride with friends, I usually leave it at home. Overall, my take is just do what feels right for you, and maybe don't shout your opinion at others while you're at it. If you're curious about the topic, I highly recommend this video by Over the Urbanity. It's one of the most balanced takes I've ever come across. Mark and I made it back to the city center one last time, denoting the end of the tour. I want to give a big thank you to Mark for such a fantastic experience, and honestly, I'm gutted that I had to leave so much great stuff on the cutting room floor. If you'd be interested in an extended cut, let me know in the comments. You can also check out my conversation with Mark on a little podcast I host. The link is below. Just as I set off towards Eindhoven, the clouds parted and the sun came out. The first thing I came across, still technically in Den Bosch, was a park. From ground level, it doesn't look like much, but from above, it forms a distinct star-shaped symbol. Now, I would certainly butcher its name, so this is
Pettelaarse Schans,
a former fortress built in 1623 as part of the city's outer line of defenses. It connects to the same fortified history I mentioned earlier. These days, it is mostly used for festivals and events, but I think it's pretty cool that a peaceful park still holds the shape of an old fort that once stood there. As I made my way south, I was briefly held up by both a foot race and a walk happening at the same time. I managed to pass through carefully and eventually found myself here.
So I'm on my way to Eindhoven and I'm dealing with a pretty decent headwind. I've almost lost my hat a few times beside this busy motorway. If you can probably tell. Yeah. But anyway, the e-bike is helping tremendously. Night and day difference.
So on the first day of the trip, I criticized a bicycle route for not being direct enough.
It is very convoluted compared to if you were in a car, much less distance need to travel. I would later eat my words, but...
Well, this was the first time I would do the eating of the words because here is a direct route, and it was boring. It was so boring that I eventually decided to take the longer detour through Boxtel in search of something a bit more stimulating, and I'm glad I did.
Past Boxtel, halfway to Eindhoven, and you know what? Smells like we're in farmland, baby. I legitimately almost got blown off my bike the gust of wind came in so hard. It made my bike buck. Jesus. But I'm okay. I'm okay. This neighborhood is really nice. I don't know what you call this, a neighborhood or a township. It just feels like one town on a road. But all the houses have a similar aesthetic. It's really unusual, but I really like it.
This was simply the edge of a town called Oirschot, which led me to this canal.
So this path is up on a dike, and while it is really windy today, all these trees that are surrounding this path make it a lot better than if it was just out there in the open. But I've been riding this path for at least 2.5 kilometers now. I don't know if there's an end in sight, it's just a straight line.
I eventually made it to the outskirts of Eindhoven, coming across something that looked a little out of place in the Netherlands.
I just doubled back now because I wanted to check this out. So this is a macro. Never seen one or heard of one, but to me it looks like a Costco, or maybe for my Canadian watchers, a Great Canadian Superstore. This is the Netherlands, folks. Cars aren't banned here. This traffic hump thing is pretty neat. I was coming down this way, down that way, and a young man in a car from this way came and went around it, oncoming towards me. Kind of scared the shit out of me, so that he could avoid driving over it. Which I don't know. What is that?
I'm still not sure how I feel about the placement of that hump, but I made it safely to my hotel and got myself a sneak peek of Eindhoven's city center.